It's 7 p.m. Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. My name is Kenneth. Jesse, here are stories making headlines tonight. Joint task force from the Ghana Traditional Council and the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has clamped down on over a dozen churches flouting the ban on drumming and noise-making in some parts of the capital. Two royal families in the Ofinso traditional area warned of bloodshed should former CEO of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Dr. KK Sapon, be installed as paramount chief of the area. Institute of Internal Auditors Ghana on the move to make artificial intelligence and digitization integral in their operations to achieve utmost efficient management in institutions. Business Ghana Union of Traders Association categorically rejects claims by the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana that it is to blame for the current high cost of doing business in the country. And later on the international front, Somali parliamentarians are electing a new president under heavy security as the country battles ongoing threats of violence and a major food crisis. Details are up shortly. Stay with us. Let's now settle for the details as a joint task force from the Ghana Traditional Council and the Accra Metropolitan Assembly earlier today clamped down on a dozen churches found flouting the ban on drumming and noise-making in some parts of the capital. The annual ban is instituted by the traditional leadership of Accra as part of preparations for the celebration of the city's Homo Festival. Let's have a conversation on the back of this, and joining me for details is the Public Relations Officer of the AMA, Gilbert Ni Ankra. Good evening, Gilbert. Welcome to the show. This was expected, but what more can you tell us from the operation today? Which churches flouted these regulations?
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and let me say a good evening to your cherished viewers and listeners all over the world. If you look at today's operation being, let me say, the first Sunday, the task force, the joint task force by the AMA and the Traditional Council, together with the police, embarked on an exercise to enforce the ban. Today, we were able to move around areas within the Bubuashin, Kaneshin, Udoko. We came to Dansoman. And if you look at what pertains in all the areas that we visited, in as much as most of the churches were not directly playing drums, or let me put it that way, a lot of the churches were using their keyboards, they were using their speakers. And so if you are even around the vicinity, you are on the streets closer to them, you can hear these voices coming out. You even heard some of the churches singing through these microphones, and they were loud enough. So as part of the enforcement, the team would have to ensure that their instruments they are using were confiscated and brought to the Traditional Council. So that was what happened today. And let me use this opportunity to also state that we want to appeal to churches to ensure that they adhere to the ban. Some will say that you have a congregation where the numbers are large enough, and even if you decide that you are not speaking through the speakers, nobody would hear. Fine, we understand some of these things, but they should ensure that the volumes are lowered down to the extent that if somebody is outside, the person would not be here. They should not also be singing through these speakers and microphones, and ensure that we all have a city where it will be peaceful.
Okay.
For the
Gilbert,
Homo.
from the videos, we see some confrontations. Was any form of violence used, or were you met with any form of violence?
Of course, we were. There were some of the areas where immediately you get there and you want to even enter into the churches, you find members resisting. But since our men were poised to ensure that they enforce the law, none of these churches came in our way in terms of preventing us. Some of the churches we also visited were also cautioned to ensure that they do the right thing. We went to a church, for instance, within Dansoman, and for that church, as I said, in as much as they were not playing the instruments, they were singing through the microphones. When we got there, there was some confrontation between the task force and members of the church, but there was some members around also to ensure that it did not result in any form of serious violence within them. Sure.
Did you seize any items or did you make any arrests?
Of course, we seized a lot of items, and if you look at the videos and the pictures and all that, you would see that some speakers, mixers, microphones, and all that. But as I said, we did not carry anything in relation to drums and all that, because none of the churches were really using their drums.
So, which areas will the task force visit next?
As I said, the task force, they are working 24/7. So they are moving all over. For instance, for today, we did not have any specific area to move in. There are also instances where you have some individuals calling in to personally report some of these noise making within their vicinity, and we move in. But the task force are all over, and anytime we hear any of these things, we get the feedback, we move in. But they are also patrolling to ensure that there is some level of the noise are minimized within this period.
So what happens to the items that were seized and the people that were arrested?
Of course, if you look at what happened traditionally when they see some of these items, the offenders are expected to pay a fine to the traditional council, after which the items would be released to them.
Okay. Any advice to the public before you go?
Just as I said, this is a 1 month period, and we are all Christians. We are all affected one way or the other, because as we know, if you go to church without instruments, you will not be able to do what you want to do well. We all know how it plays an important role. But this is a 1 month period. I want to urge all of us to ensure that we adhere to this ban. Let me state briefly that if you look at our Muslim brothers, one challenge that we have, and let me state it categorically here, and they should desist from using their speakers, especially doing their dawn prayers, their Friday prayers. Please, they should understand that within this period, there are some rules and regulations, especially with respect to tradition, and that is being adhered to. So they should also ensure that they are here. They should not be using their horns, especially doing for calling for prayers during dawn and then on Fridays.
Okay, now that you brought the issue of Muslims lowering their speakers, is it that you found them also flouting the rules? Today had been Sunday. We have not seen any yet, but we've had some reports of especially the call for prayers, using their horns to call for prayers and all that. And it's on that basis that I am saying that they should ensure that they desist for it before the task force moving to enforce the law. Gilbert Ni Ankra, thank you very much. He is the PRO at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Let's bring in more stories, but this time to the Ashanti region, where two royal families in the Ofinso traditional area have rejected the nomination of Dr. KK Sapon to become the paramount chief of the area, saying he does not hail from the royal lineage. KK Sapon was the former CEO for Kumasi Asante Kotoko and the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation. The kingmakers of the Ofinso traditional area on Friday, May 6, 2022, at a ceremony in Ofinso through Achiamehene Nana Kweku Wiafe presented Dr. Kofi Kodria Sapon as the new Ofinso paramount chief nominee to succeed the late chief Nana Wiafe Akenteng III. However, a few days on, the two royal families say the nominee is illegitimate and the process for his selection is dubious.
Media, no offense of mine. or him, Kotikwa of a Fensoheno. And yes, now, young man also get you man. And then yet I drink said, Obesha could go more you appear. Put me to try and about the country now for the chairs and my baby. The tea of Shia, the tea out of one said, Mr. Hima, and him from a cannon, him for Kakrakan, and a boss apple. And yet a quarrel, or would be for emphasis quarrels.
The head of the Ashirim family, Nana Okontomene Abuaje, also affirmed that the nominee is neither a member of the two royal gates of Ofinso traditional area and therefore has no mandate to take over the throne of the Ofinso paramountcy. He urged the kingmakers to do due diligence in the selection to avoid any bloodshed in the traditional area.
So obi na dwen so beton akonwa no amobi a enye yie eti ase nso a enye yie me nua ma konkolias for me do mo sepa se e ba yi omo na da omo abomoden pa ti se so adu achimfo so se ye ni abre a enso ye be so okun mu bi enti ye ba yi a ye de eti o ne se na no fenso hima na se wanya akon odi
At a press conference, the aggrieved family members poured libation to express their displeasure and also evoked the ancestral spirits to intervene. An effort to get Nana Manyako, who is the Queen Mother of the area, who is cited to back Dr. KK Sapon to respond to this, has proved futile. Let's take you to the Central Region, where the Ghana Police Service says it will deploy a joint team to the region aimed at ending the rampant killings in the region over the past week. This comes after the lifeless body of a Cape Coast Technical University student was found at Ola Estate in Cape Coast. This has pushed the death toll to 8 in less than 10 days in the region.
Last weekend, the body of a male believed to be in his 30s was dumped in a stagnant pool at Mankasim. The assembly members of the two electoral areas were called in to report the incident to the police.
Yanti so there obi nimpa we wayo. Yanti announcement bia na two no so obi so reported there nimpa yo na oye bema nenya fi.
The assembly member Mukhtar Hassan described the incidents as worrying.
The people of Mankasim here do not know what is happening. What is going on is serious. The police should also do something about it.
That was the fourth body they found in the enclave in a week. Some residents expressed fear of what is happening in the community.
We get scared when we send our children. When we are even in our homes, we are scared. We cannot even go to church in the evening. We plead with the police of Mankasim to come to our aid.
On Wednesday, 40-year-old fetish priest Kwesi Tando allegedly shot himself, his wife and son dead at Enya Abowinum in the Jumako Enya Esiam district of the Central Region. The incident is said to have happened at 12 midnight at Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. A brother and a sister of the deceased wife gave their account.
I came home tired and was trying to find something to eat when my brother knocked on the door and told me that my sister and her husband were in a heated argument. He informed me that my in-law had picked up a gun and locked the family indoor. So I also went to another in-law of mine to borrow his gun to save my sister. When I got to their house, I met the police. They told me that my sister, one child, and her husband are dead.
The Jumako District Police Commander Chief Superintendent Stephen Tete spoke to pressmen after they got to the scene.
We realized that this man, the man has shot himself in the head, and one of the sons, who is about 40 years. So the man and the son died. But there were other 3 children. The first son, who is about 17 years, had locked the other younger children, one 9 years and one 6, in a room, and used a chair to praise the place, so the man couldn't get access to them.
Yesterday, the Central Regional Police Command has commanded investigations into the murder of 24-year-old Nana Ama Clark, a level 300 marketing student of the Cape Coast Technical University. She was murdered at Ola Estate in Cape Coast. The lifeless body of the lady was found at 9 p.m. on Friday, May 13, 2022, with her private parts removed. It is suspected that her missing parts may have been used to perform rituals, but the police are yet to confirm that, as they say they have started investigations.
This is how she was positioned. We thought she had been knocked down by a car. Then we noticed she was bleeding between her thighs.
The police for the moment a lady be younger be back there. I want we get so go we get them baby so go. Into your choir and put your could do.
When we go to the scene, the way her sleepers and wig were set aside, it appeared to be intentional. We found her phone and called some of the numbers on it. We later found out that she was a national service personnel who lived at Elmina.
According to the Public Relations Officer of the Central Regional Police Command, DSP Irene Opon, the mother of the deceased has been contacted and the body has been deposited at the Cape Coast Technical Hospital.
Police proceeded to the scene and found the body of an unknown person, aged about 24 years, lying naked with her private parts cut off and bruises over the body. Body has been deposited at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, pending further investigation. Developments. The disease has been identified as Nana Ama Clark.
There has so far been 8 deaths in the region in less than 10 days, which has got citizens worried.
Very unfortunate incident there. You're still watching News 9 here on Metro Television. Go for a quick break. We'll be back with more. You're welcome back. The Institute of Internal Auditors Ghana says it has evolved from the days of just checks of wrongdoings of institutions to helping management achieve value addition to their operations. This came to light during a health walk by the Institute to mark May as Internal Audit Awareness Month.
May is International Internal Audit Awareness Month. The Institute of Internal Auditors encourages auditors around the world to participate in the celebration in May to promote the internal audit professional to their audit customers, executive management and boards of directors, as well as to students and their community. President of the Institute of Internal Auditors Ghana, Harriet Ekua Kakari, mentioned the health work was to dispel the misconception about auditing.
We have artificial intelligence, we have data mining, we have a lot of technologies that are put in place, including data analytics. And all these are being employed by internal auditors to do their audit. So if the organizations resource and train the internal auditors, they will use all these to do their work. Internal auditors are able to evaluate emerging trends and risk and advise management. We are able to identify red flags in terms of fraud so that we can alert management for them to put in place measures to curb its occurrence.
Chairman of the Research and Publication Committee of the institution, Ebenezer Kojo Omari Mreko, in an interview mentioned that the institution has evolved from just determining faults of organizations.
Function is evolving from just checks, because previously just checks of wrongs and rights, but now it is value addition. We are helping management to achieve their objectives. So there are a number of areas that we help management. When it comes to their governance processes and structures, we try to identify areas of improvements and draw their attention. When there are gaps that needs to be addressed, we draw management's attention. We make recommendations such that these things could be identified, and then when it is implemented, we believe that they help management achieve their objectives.
The institution says it is equipping its members with the necessary knowledge to meet the challenging needs of digitization.
Let's bring you some education-related stories as private university colleges say it may become infeasible for them to charter within the timelines provided by the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission as stipulated by the Education Regulatory Bodies Act 1023. With 2 years left for them to become independent universities or cease to exist, they say it can only take government's intervention to help them.
Per the Education Regulatory Bodies Act 2020, Act 1023, all university colleges are mandated to wean themselves from their mother universities by the end of 2023, lest cease to exist. With 2 years already gone by, some of the private university colleges say without government support, they may not be able to meet the deadline. President of JE University College, in an interaction with the media during the 11th congregation of the university, bemoaned the lack of support from government to private universities who are struggling to survive. He said it becomes difficult to retain their lecturers when they attain higher certificates such as MPhil or PhD, since they opt for public universities due to salary demands. The president proposed for government to assist in paying of lecturers in return for a share of profits made by private universities. He recounted how presidents of other university colleges at a recent workshop organized by the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission also lamented on how frustrating it has become in their quest to migrate to autonomous universities. He fears they may have to cease operations at the elapse of the deadline and thus wants government to support the university colleges, considering their contribution to higher education in the country.
We are working with the government, and I believe the government also knows what he should do. You see, we should not be telling the government that it's becoming difficult for us to exist. The government knows what is happening, but I don't know why they want to support the public universities and then ask the private universities to. Because after all, we are. If it has to do with the fact that maybe the owners of the private universities are running it as a business and they want or they believe that the profit is going to the owners. I hope you understand. Then I think they should also try and then assist us in a manner. You see, that if the government should, if there should be the need even to pay part of the profit, even apart from the taxes that we pay.
Meanwhile, Dr. Christiane Hammond, in an earlier speech read on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Education, Winneba, Professor Mauto Avoke, mentioned that the UEW will support its affiliate university colleges to ensure that they successfully become independent. She charged the graduates to be skillful on the job market as well as preserve good personal images.
And we, the University of Education, Winneba, is readily available to provide our unwavering support to ensure that this dream comes to a reality.
Still on education, the Indian High Commissioner to Ghana, Sugand Rajaram, has passionately called for a change in the education system to enhance 21st century skills among learners. He said the initiative will go a long way to help learners be great innovators in the future.
The Indian High Commissioner to Ghana made the call when the Moya Education Limited, the organizers of Africa's biggest arithmetic calculation, unveiled STEM Robo and Thinker Coder to their number of programs. According to him, it is high time the youth start thinking about how well to create more employment through STEM education than to wait to be employed.
If we take efforts to infuse the spirit and sense of innovation, lateral thinking, creativity, research into our young minds, they're going to take advantage and revolutionize the whole economy. We need to transform our young people to be the job creators rather than creating job seekers out of them. So to do that, we need to teach them to tinker with new ideas and come up with solutions, products, technologies and services which will give others an opportunity to have large number of employment generation.
The STEM Robo and Thinker Coder initiative, according to the Director of Business Development of the Moya Education Limited, Roger Ohimen, seeks to champion the cause of government in making STEM-related education crucial to the development of our growing age youngsters.
The government have always been talking about our economy being much of consumer-based, and they want to change the narrative from consumer-based to production-based. And for us to be able to change from consumer-based to production-based, then science education or technological education plays a key role. Hence, we are partnering with Tinker Coders and bringing this new product line that is going to help build the technological abilities of young children at a very tender age, so that when they reach of age, they will be in a position to develop things so that we can change from our current state of our economy, which is more of consumer-based, to production-based.
The STEM Robo technology is expected to reform the primary to senior high school education with the basics of science, technology, arts, engineering, in order to provide a holistic approach to the overall development of children in the country.
You're still watching Newsnight. Let's bring you some more stories as the Catholic Metropolitan Archbishop of Cape Coast, Most Reverend Charles Palmer Barkel, has called for a review of the free senior high school policy for further deliberations.
The 728-page history book titled Accra Kabeleo, The History of the Accra Academy from Jamestown to Bubwashi, presents both a visual and literal history of the school over 9 decades. It recounts the aspirations and achievements of successive administrations of the school and how they overcame the challenges of their time and influenced the character of their students.
At Accra Academy, I learned about Wikipedia. And you know, the perception is that Accra is a big school. So I went to type in the Accra and zero, nothing came up. So I said, how? Accra is such a big school and no representation. And I have to tell you that in those days, editing on Wikipedia was, I would like to say, a nightmare. Very, very technical. You know, not like you have it today. Today is easy. They have like a web form. You have to use code. Very difficult, and I was frustrated because you put something there, they will delete it, they say you have to cite sources, a lot of things. But eventually, you know, I succeeded in doing that.
Congratulating the school for such feats, Deputy Minister of Education, Reverend Ntim Fojo, added that the free senior high school is a game changer.
So the challenge we are dealing with goes beyond access. Between 2017 and now, the government, through the free SHS policy, has been able to make it possible for nearly 2.2 million students to access education. Many of these may not have had the opportunity for higher learning if not for this policy. So it is a great thing that we all must continue to collaborate to consolidate the gains, that no child is left behind, the child of the poor, the child of the rich, all having access. But it's also a question of relevance.
The Catholic Metropolitan Archbishop of Cape Coast, Most Reverend Charles Gabriel Palmer Barkel, during his submission, called for a review of the free senior high school policy.
And I would leave it with the minister. It is now time that we have a stakeholders meeting to review the free education policy. I support it 100% or 110%. I do. And it is high time. I want to leave something, my dear friends, and add it as one of my last points, is that The free education should not give money to parents and to Ghanaians to indulge in frivolities, because parents have forgotten that they should be paying for the education of their children. They have devolved that onto government and are blaming government. But we expect to see parents collaborate and contribute their share to the total education of their children. The children should be holistically educated, not just academically, holistically.
Don't go anywhere, because we have more stories for you after the break. Welcome back. Business News is next. In business tonight, Executive Secretary for Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Samson Awingobit, has blamed the current high cost of doing business in the country on the Ghana Union of Traders Association for endorsing what he calls unwarranted and insensitive trading policies from government.
7 years ago, a government was here, and anytime the government introduced policies that the business community realized that it was in the detriment to the business community, we stood shoulder to shoulder, we stood on our ground, we joined. That was when we even formed what we call the first ever that we formed what we call Joint Business Consultative Forum, where it comprises the Ghana Union of Traders, GUTA, Importers and Exporters Association, Food and Beverages Association, Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, and other allied associations to fight the government at the time. And it was, we were in both public and private. And at a point, the GUTA president currently used to be, I remember vividly, used to be the national organizer of GUTA. Then we go to Okase, Okatumanso, and everywhere. We said they should close and shop. To the extent that even sometimes we get the foreign company like the malls to also join us by closing down shop, just to register our pleasure, our displeasure to the government, and to let the government heed to our pleas. 6 years down the lane, I must say, this government came 6, 7 years, almost in the 7th, and then the 7th year, we are in the May now. We have even read, if we were to June, I'll say half year of the 7th year, and we have had policies from abolish the Abosokai spare parts. When they come to implementation, the government then say Abosokai to come and tell them which is spare part, which is not spare part. And we had cost, even including you, the media, asking me that if the government abolished taxes, why do people go to buy spare parts and the spare parts was still high? Okay. We saw the 3% flat rate that was reversed, where the European importers and exporters and wholesalers and distributors. And some of us stood on our ground and said, no, that was going to be in the detriment. We saw what the government bring cargo tracking note. GUTA and openly endorse it. We saw what happened at the what you call the benchmark values, the 20% reversal. We saw how GUTA leadership has been compromised for several.
Let's seek some clarity on this issue and speak to Dr. Joseph Opuni. He is the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association. Good evening, Doc. Welcome to the show. How do you respond to these accusations by the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana that GUTA is partly to blame for the difficulty in doing business in the country?
It's very unfortunate, my brother. Having killed ourselves all this time to fight for the cause of the trading community, somebody will come out and say such things. I should have left this for the judgment of the Ghanaian, who know the effort that I've made, me in particular, on behalf of my association and on behalf of the generality of the trading community of Ghana. So I don't know what he's talking about. What is he talking about? What is it that have affected trading, that it was not GUTA that has led the fight and succeeded? The benchmark reduction policy came about because I had to plead. I have to petition the president. I had the opportunity to sit down with him, explain the high cost of duties. For about 3 hours in his office, he called his ministers to come over, about 4 of them. I explained to them. From there, I proceeded to the Council of State, petition Council of State. They called me in They drilled me for about 2 hours, asked me why we should reduce duties and all that. And I was able to do all that on behalf of my Guta and on behalf of the generality of the trading community. And that was why the benchmark reduction was even given to us.
Right.
In the past, policies like VAT, flat rate, and all that, I signed the blueprint that brought about the flat rate policy. I did all this to serve the people of Ghana. Where was he? What does he know about these things? And why does he have to come and concoct these lies? You are all in this country. When you saw us fighting, foot for foot, when the benchmark was intended to be reversed. I hope you interviewed me in your studio, and you know how passionate I was in discussing this with AGI and all that. And I succeeded in bringing it to 30% and 10% with a hard fight. How will somebody sit up and just sit up and think about anything and come and tell Ghanaians? Fortunately, I do not answer to him. I do work and I answer for the good people, the trading community of Ghana, and who all admire the efforts that I personally am doing for the trading community and on behalf of my association, Ghana Union of Traders Association. Most people admire our efforts. So this is not for him to come and say, the judgment is for Ghanaians to say, we are not political organization.
Right. Dog, okay. You've mentioned the benchmark reversal, you've mentioned the VAT. So why do you think he's going to accuse the association, I mean Guta, for the high cost of doing business in the country, if indeed you have done all these things that you've mentioned?
Does it even make sense? Does it even make sense? You are very good analysis. That what he's saying, does it even make sense? I have fought when I have to fight. I've made sure that the benchmark itself was given to Ghanaians, and I did it on my personal efforts. And this who have come to praise me, the Ghanaian trader. I observe this; they like it, and they cherish me for doing this for them. He is an association, a power association. I do not answer him for anything. I don't know why he has to sit down and concord this. Every person in Ghana knows how I've been fighting on the same issues that he's raising. On the issue of CTN, I even created enemies for myself for fighting against the CTN, the introduction of CTN. When I was fighting against Ashi, where was he? And we have done this with all our strength and with all our heart to service the people of Ghana. And he's doing this. It's not fair. I don't know why he's doing this. Maybe you want to break the front of traders. Because when we went to argue for the benchmark reversal policy, I even called him. He was with us. And about 50 trade leaders of this country. I left the park and argued my way through.
Right.
AGR was there. AGR can attest to what I'm saying. The finance minister was there. I made a cogent reasoning why they should not reverse the 50% hold.
Okay.
But we reached a consensus, and government gave us some respite. So what is he talking about?
Right.
As if he doesn't even know what he's talking about. This is not fair. This is below the belt. Every Ghanaian knows the effort that I've done. Sometimes I do this to the detriment of my own image.
Okay.
And my work and my health. And somebody will just come. Please, journalists, all of you know the efforts that I've done. The Ghanaian people know this. So I shouldn't even have answered this. That's why I haven't even commented on this. Have you not called me? I would have never comment on this because Ghanaians are very wise. They are discerning and they know that somebody is being mischievous.
Right.
Who can come and say this? How on earth that Guta of all associations is going that he wants me to just follow what he wants or what? He wants me to close shops. He has association. So why wouldn't he go and close shops? They will have a way to deal with authorities, to
Right.
listen to me,
Okay.
and give me results. Why do I have to go and close shops?
Okay.
What is he saying? If he has an association, why doesn't he go and close shops himself? But I do things maturely. I present cogent points to convince government, and they sit down with me and give me results. And this is what I do. I do not just go and close shops. What is he saying? It doesn't make sense.
Right. Dr. Joseph Opuni, thank you very much for speaking to us. He's the president of GUTA. Let's bring in more stories as the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana has predicted an upward adjustment in the prices of petroleum products again from tomorrow. In a statement, the Chamber revealed the prices of petrol, diesel and LPG will go up by 5%, 2% and 4% respectively.
According to a release from the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, prices of petroleum products will see a rise starting 16th May 2022. Per their projections, COPEC predicts petrol will go up by 5%, while diesel is predicted to see a 2% increase and LPG is predicted to rise by 4%. According to the energy think tank, the expected increase in fuel prices is due to the falling dollar exchange rate and increase in prices of processed fuel, and also an increase in crude prices by 3% per barrel. Crude prices are said to be at a current average of $107.68 per barrel, resulting in $1,138.23 per metric ton. Diesel is selling at $1,159.98 per metric ton. Considering the current exchange rate of $1 to 7 cedis 80 pesos and a 15 peso per liter tax still in place, petrol is expected to sell at 9.990 Ghana cedis and diesel at 11.350 Ghana cedis. This brings the average price of petrol and diesel to 10.670 cedis.
So if you're going to the pump tomorrow, you should expect to pay more for fuel. That's it for business. Sports News is next. In sports tonight, Petroleum United will play Accra Hearts of Oak in the finals of the MTN FA Cup competition after beating Aduana Stars 2-0 in the semi-final match.
Augustine to the near side now. Avonyo does a lovely turn and flick, and that is the first goal for the Hunters. The weather makes it up to Association Football. It's a free kick advantage. It will be. Oh, that's the second goal! Oh my word!
Incredible! Just look at the hit, super hit straight into the woodwork, but it bounces back. It cannot off the body of the goalkeeper, Joseph Opuni. But just look at the power behind the strike. Amazing hit over the wall, straight into the crossbar, but it hit the goalkeeper in return. And
you know, we've been playing the 3-5-2, and I assigned everybody the role to play, and they were playing the role perfectly. You see, they could not play, Aduana could not play, because we always outnumber them in the midfield. And our attackers were very fast. So when we outnumber them and we try to possess the ball power, we invite them to come, then we play it to our attackers, they use the pace, and outwit them, and we get the goals. Very, very fantastic. I told you, with them back, you will see the midfield will gel. During their absence, I think there was a shortcoming at the midfield there. But now they are back. They are used to the way we play in the middle.
We'll be back after this break. Hello again. Entertainment news is next. Ghanaian film director and actor Pascal Aka has won the Best Soundtrack at the 22nd edition of the Africa Movie Choice Awards, which took place last night in Nigeria. The 8th edition was held after a 2-year hiatus of the awards. Pascal Aka did the soundtrack of the movie together with songstress Raquel. The award came with a cash reward of 1 million naira. Gold Coast Lounge, since its release in 2019, has won about 16 awards. International news is next. Somali parliamentarians met in a heavily fortified airport hangar on Sunday to vote for a new president as the country battles ongoing threats of violence and a major food crisis. In a crowded field of 35 aspirants, former presidents Sharif Sheikh Ahmed and Hassan Sheikh Mohammed were the front-runners, according to analysts, even though their rule failed to stem corruption or a war by armed groups. The United Nations-backed vote was delayed by more than a year because of squabbling in government, but must be held this month to ensure a $400 million International Monetary Fund program. It takes place during the Horn of African nations' worst drought in 4 decades and against a familiar background of violence from attacks by Al-Shabaab. That's all for now, but before we go, a look again at our top stories. A joint task force from the Ghana Traditional Council and the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has clamped down on over a dozen churches flouting the ban on drumming and noise-making in some parts of the capital. We spoke with the PRO of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. We also took you to Kumasi, where 2 royal families in the Offensive traditional area warns of bloodshed should former CEO of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Dr. KK Sapon, be installed as paramount chief of the area. And Institute of Internal Auditors Ghana on the move to make artificial intelligence and digitization integral in the operations to achieve utmost efficient management in institutions. And in business, Ghana Union of Traders Association categorically rejects claims by the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana that it is to blame for the current high cost of doing business in the country. And we took you to Somalia, where Somali parliamentarians are electing a new president and the heavy security in the country as they battle ongoing threats of violence and major food crisis. Thank you very much for being a part of this edition of Newsnight. My name is Kenneth Jesse. On behalf of the entire team led by Gabriel Ni, Obodai, Togbo, Ashon, have a good night.